Hello children, today we are going to do the first lesson in the supplementary reader, A Triumph of Surgery. That's how a person gets recovered by surgery. But here the main character is not a person but a dog. And what is the surgery that takes place is what we're going to see in this. This lesson is written by James Herriot, who was himself a vet. He loved dogs and he had a lot of experiences with dogs and their owners. So he must have had occasions where he must have interacted with various people, and maybe he had some personal experience which inspired him to write this story. In this lesson, he tells about his experience with the rich lady, Mrs. Humphrey. She loves her dog so much that she overfeeds him, and because of this, the dog becomes ill. And how he treats the dog without medicines and surgery. That's what is described here. I was worried about Tricky this time. So the mistress has brought a dog to the veterinary surgeon, and so he's worried because the dog is in a very bad shape. I had pulled up my car when I saw him in the street with his mistress, and I was shocked at his appearance. So I saw him with his mistress. I stopped my car and I was shocked when I saw him because he had become hugely fat, very fat, like a bloated sausage. A sausage that has become very big, that he's become bloated with a leg at each corner. So you can see one big mass of flesh and 4 legs at the corners. His eyes bloodshot and roomy. Bloodshot as if it's bloody, and roomy, that's all watery, red and watery, when like eyes become when we have cold. They are staring straight ahead, and his tongue is lolling from his jaw. Tongue is lolling means it's falling out. So these are all signs of being ill. And Miss Humphrey hasten means quickly, she explained. He is so listless, lifeless. He seems to have no energy at all, and so I thought he's got malnutrition because he's not having an energy. So I gave him extra meals to give him energy. I gave him some malt. Malt, as you can see, is a kind of grains. Cod liver oil, again that's something that we have to build our energy, and a bowl of Horlicks at night to make him sleep. Nothing much really. After giving all this, apart from his extra food, she says, I don't give him much food. So the doctor says, see, last time I told you to cut down on sweet things. Have you done that? Then she says, yes, I cut, but he's so weak. So I felt I should give him some sweets. He seems so weak. I had to give up. I had to do it. He does love cream cakes and chocolates, so I can't bear to refuse him. He likes chocolate cakes. He likes cream cakes, so I can't refuse him. So I give him all these. And then I looked at the dog, and the dog, that is the trouble. His only problem is that he is very greedy. Anytime you give him food, he will accept it. He will never say no. And now this man is wondering, see, this is what she is telling me she's giving the dog. I wonder how much more food she is stuffing into the. Then he asks, are you giving him exercise? Then she says, yes, he had his exercise, you see, but now the gardener is down with lumbago back pain, and so there has been no ring throwing lately. So we used to make him exercise by throwing the rings, but he is not doing that also now. Then I try to sound very severe so that she understands it's a dangerous situation. I really mean this. If you don't cut his foot right now and give him more exercise, he is going to be ill. You must harden your heart and keep a very strict diet. Give up all this pampering and all. Be very strict about his diet and give him exercise. She wrung her hands. So that's a sign of her anxiety. Oh, I will, Mr. Herriot. I'm sure you're right, but it's so difficult, so very difficult. It's difficult to make my dog be on a diet and do all this exercise. She set off, head down along the road, as if determined to put the new regimen into practice immediately. So the way she's walking, as if immediately she's going to start this. Okay. I watched their progress with growing concern, but as I saw them going, I knew that she's not going to do anything. She's going to go on feeding him. She's not going to make him do any exercise. Tricky was tottering along in his tweed coat. Tweed coat, you can see the image of the dog there with the coat. So that kind of coat. And he had a whole wardrobe of these coats for cold, the raincoat for wet days. So she has bought many different kinds of clothes for him. That is, he has the entire wardrobe of clothes for himself. Some for the warm weather, some for the cold weather. For rainy season, he has raincoat. He struggled on, drooping in his harness. So he's not able to walk freely also because of all this weight. He's struggling to walk, and he's drooping. He's going on as if he's falling in his harness. Harness, that kind of thing that is used to tie the dog. I thought it wouldn't be long before I heard from Mrs. Pumphrey, so I felt that she is going to surely come soon with dog towards me. And the expected call came within a few days. She was totally distraught, worried. Tricky is not eating anything. Even his favorite dishes he is not eating. And he is vomiting. And all the time he is lying down on the rug, panting. He didn't want to go for walks. He didn't want to do anything. I had already planned what should be done. So what I did is I decided that I have to get him out of that house. I suggested that he should be hospitalized for a fortnight, that's over 15 days, and that he will be kept under observation. The lady was almost, ready to faint soon because, she had to be separated from her dog. And she was sure that he would pine and die if he didn't see her every day. She said, "Oh, my dog will be so sad, it will die if it doesn't see me." But I took a very firm line. I said, "Tricky is ill. The only way to save him is to take him to the hospital." And she went on crying and all, but I took him to the car after wrapping him in a blanket. And the entire staff of the house was made to run about. They brought his day bed, his night bed, his cushions, toys, rings, breakfast bowl, lunch bowl, supper bowl, so many things. I understood that my car cannot hold all the things that they feel the dog needs. And so I started to drive away. And she put many coats through the window, these coats for the dog. And when I looked through the mirror, I saw everyone was crying there because the dog is going to the hospital. And I looked at the pathetic, that poor thing, which looks so pitiable, that dog, which was gasping on the seat by my side. Gasping means having difficulty breathing. I patted its head, and that time it tried to move its tail. I said, "Oh, poor dog, oh lad, you don't have a kick in you, don't have any life in you. But I think I know a cure for you. I will cure you." When I went and took him there, all the household dogs who were there, because he already has many dogs in his surgery, they came running towards him. And Tricky is looking at them with very dull eyes because he has no life at all. No? And when I put him down, he just lay motionless on the carpet. The other dogs, naturally when a new dog comes, they come to see if he can play with them. So they sniffed around him, they smelt him for some time and all. Then they decide, "Oh, he is very uninteresting," and they went off. I made a bed for him near where the other dogs lay, and for 2 days I kept an eye on him. I gave him plenty of water so that he doesn't become dehydrated, but no food. At the end of the second day, when he started feeling hungry, he started showing some interest in his surroundings. On the third day, he began to make small noises when he heard the sound of the other dogs. And when I opened the door, he trotted out, and he was immediately engulfed. It was hugged by Joe, the greyhound, the big hound, and his friends. And after inspecting him, the dogs moved to the garden, and Tricky is following them. He's somehow moving with the surplus fat. At the feeding time, I noticed how when all the food was being given into the bowls, all the dogs, they come running and they eat fast, because if they don't eat fast, towards the last part of the meal, they'll have competition. The other dogs will try to eat their food. So, I'm serving this. When all had finished, Tricky again, he is walking around and he is trying to lick from one or two of the other bowls. They're shining because the dogs have licked them completely. And next day onwards, I kept an extra bowl for him, and I was happy to see him jostling, forcing his way through with the others so that he can get enough food. And from then on, his progress was rapid. I did not give him any medicine. Only thing is, he's running about with the dogs, joining in their fights. He's discovering, the joys of playing with them, being bowled over there. While playing, they hit each other, they jump on each other. And also, he also is becoming a member of the gang. And he's different because he's that pampered, silky kind of dog. So he looks different from the others, but he is enjoying life. The others go hunting for rats and all that. He also goes along with them. And Miss Pumphrey is not allowed to come to the hospital, so she's always going calling from there, asking, "How is my dog? Is it better, and all that." So she'll ask questions. Have I put this coat for him? Have I put the other coat for him? Am I turning his cushions regularly so that they remain soft and all? But I could tell her, "Don't worry, your dog is much better. It is out of danger." Then when I said that it's coalescing, it's recovering, something happened. She started bringing fresh eggs. 2 dozen eggs and all at a time for the dog. And for some period, my partners and I, we had 2 eggs each for breakfast, because all these eggs you can't give the dogs, so they started eating the dogs. Then what happened? Bottles of wine began to arrive for the dog. Then these people felt, oh, this is very interesting. So the wine was sent so that Tricky's blood becomes enriched. These people started having wine with their lunch and before the meal and during the meal. And then what happened? She said brandy, saying that brandy is good for his digestion. And they enjoyed having brandy. So it was a wonderful time. They were having eggs, they were having wine, they were finishing the day with brandy. So breakfast, egg, lunch, wine, and night brandy. So they felt it's nice, if you have Tricky as a permanent guest, because we'll get a flow of items. But they know that Mrs. Pumphrey is suffering. So after some time, I felt compelled to phone her and tell her that the dog is recovered. Just within minutes after my call, a black metal car came there, and the driver came out, and I could see Mrs. Pumphrey sitting there all together, so upset. She's telling, tell me the truth, is he better? She's so worried. So he says, don't worry, I'll go and bring him, he's improved. And I went through the house into the garden. I could see many dogs are running around in the ground, and Tricky is also running with them. So now he has become a very hard-muscled animal, a very active animal, and he is running along with them. Okay, and his chest is almost brushing the ground. Now, what is significant about his chest brushing the ground? Because probably you can think about the size of his belly earlier, then you can understand the importance of this. I carried him along the passage to the house, front of the house where his mistress was waiting. And when he saw her, he just leapt into her lap. She was very happy. He started licking her. And I brought all the things which had been sent. None of these I've used. And I kept it in the car. And as she goes away, she says, oh, how can I ever thank you? This is a triumph of surgery. She believes that some special medicine was given, some surgery was done, because of which her dog has cured. She is unable to believe that it's only because of diet and exercise. So here we have something about the character of the different people, like Mrs. Pumphrey, a wealthy person who loves her dogs too much. She gives him lot of food, but she doesn't give him exercise. She's very worried about him. And James Harriet, who's a vet, he is shocked to see the dog. He is genuinely concerned about the dog, and he has a very, very common sense approach towards the dog. And Tricky is a small dog who loves his mistress a lot, and she also loves him. He is greedy and he loves food, but he is basically lazy. He doesn't do much exercise. But given the right circumstance, he changes and he becomes a very active dog. And the dog's recovery is supposed to be a triumph of surgery according to her, but that's not so. Now the classwork side, you have 3 questions in the lesson which are given here. You can pause here and note it down in your classwork. There's a small homework. Again, these questions are based on the text itself. That is the narrator as rich as Tricky's mistress? I think the answer is obvious. How does he treat the dog? Yes, he treats it with by making it a kind of normal dog, by making it exercise, by giving it normal food so that it can become healthy. Why is he tempted to keep Tricky on as a permanent guest? Because of the eggs, the wine and the brandy. And why does Mrs. Pumphrey think that the dog's recovery is a triumph of surgery? Because she can't believe that the dog is improved just because of exercise and diet. Please do this in your homework with the proper entry in the homework index also. Okay, hope you have understood the lesson. Thank you all of you.